Da 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 da. Da da. Don't wanna be DMC'd with one stupid reload gag. Da 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 na 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 da 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 And I'm back. More of this stuff in your Twitch chat, but also already here. So first things first, look down there. Look down there. I prettied up my chat display. And you can too. Hehehehe. Because I made a new blog post. Also, I made new clips, which are also now on my site. So I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, couldn't do that as much as I would like with this current Stream Elements chat display. Because in the end, you can only do CSS. And I can only do CSS. I cannot do JavaScript yet. So, and at that point, I don't think I can use like the custom CSS parts. I would have to make my own thing, which I'm gonna promise you now, we're probably gonna do once I am doing the CSS course. But that's like what may be. Okay, enough dumb jokes. We're gonna craft some weapons. So again, I played a little bit. I got some of the good stuff. I haven't made like a good pipeline of getting these easily, huh? There might be better ones anyway. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some good weapons. Maybe a Sylvana? A Sylvana seems like the right choice. So we're gonna make weapons. Like I said, I made some equipment, some basic stuff, and some rings, which didn't quite have what I liked. But before I make that, I want to check something. Cause let me tell you, you want to check whether the things you want can be put on where you want them to. Otherwise, you just waste a lot of trades, and I'm not here for that. I was only able to get so much stuff. Still kind of limited. Wait, I'm in the wrong one. I need to go for trades. Sure, understanding those other things is good. But okay, so by the way, basically, I have this thing which is pretty good, and that can be put on everything. So that is absolutely something we want. I pretty much have it on armor and accessories. I don't know why I should put it on exploration. That's confusing. I never know whether these help on exploration items, but apparently you can put them on there. But more importantly, this year reduces MP cost. I always like that. If I could, I would put the combination of skill charge and cut MP consumption. But don't really have that. Ooh, I forgot something. Hey there, Pink. You know who forgot to make a Tumblr post? It's me. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Da, 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 da. Oh, no, 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 no. Are you serious? Don't you hate it when you type something but you're not having the right focus? Okay. Okay, everything back in order. As I was saying. Right, I wanted to look... Okay, so first of all... Right, what I actually wanted to look... What can I cut MP consumption on? Only on weapons. And that's important. Because that's pretty good, especially with that team thing. Get added what? What do you mean get added? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh. Oh yeah. It has been so long since there was a human. Well, not a bot. See, it would be easier to notice that kind of thing if the damn site was not so shitty. Because it doesn't actually show the notification anymore. The notification button. Anyway. And obviously I wasn't looking on it, so could not see that. As I was saying, well, let's make some stuff. I'm thinking cut MP consumption and all stat charge. That should be enough. Let's have a look what weapons we have available. Is this thing? Which might be the first we want to do. Lumber and sand. This is sand, and that can be quite useful. But I'm not quite sure that's useful for the particular weapon. Oh, no, it could be. So let's make some polish, why don't we? For that, I mostly want... Well, actually, I want the air And I want like the thunder. So, oh, light. Then again, light, air, kind of the same. Oh, maybe not. How much lightning do we have here? Not a lot at all. Well, I mean, I guess we can just use these. And that gets us almost everything, but... Oh, no. No, that should be perfectly fine. If we then get some more light in here. Da-da-da-da-da. That's almost nothing. This is probably the best if we just want this for components, which is probably how it's gonna be. So let's put this here. Since I'm ignoring the ice, there isn't really that much to think about here. I guess I'm gonna put this here. Ooh. Okay, more quality increase. So it doesn't have the perfect synth quality bonus, but that should be entirely fine. Wait. Okay, I think I can make this in a decent enough. I was hoping to fill more rows, but alas. That's as good as that one's gonna be. You don't really care about this in a specific case. Okay, that's the first component. Lumber, I think, can be whatever. And then some good ingots. And some good ingots. Which essentially two different things. Wait, I should have a thing there, I think. Because I have skill charge on something. I have skill charge on ingots, but they're kinda blah. Still could be good. So I think I'm gonna use that ingot. And then I want... So... maybe... it's complicated. Like, do I want both? Or just the combined version? Anyway, I'm gonna see if I can make the thing I want to begin with. Well, that was a little bit too early, huh? I need to make another polish because it's not gonna work if I don't have the things on it. That could also then be a stone to get a better Sylvalia, huh? Okay, so I'm gonna make some yellow stuff, and it needs to have all stats charge and cut MP consumption. these could fit into a pipeline here. That's kind of nice. We can make more of them. So for that, I'm gonna sort this by lightning. Which... These two seem to have... this has more lightning than the other ones, huh? But other than that, these are better. I'm gonna use one of them. And I'm gonna do the same thing here, which it... I already did that, I guess. Yeah, that should be good. I don't think I'm gonna get the frost part. Maybe at some other point. So obviously it's gonna be all about the... well, the other things. No, I need to make this in a way where I can combine them nicely. Maybe like this. Yeah, that kind of works. It does not kind of work. At the end, I'm only losing like a little thing. Like I'm just losing a little bit of efficiency. And really the more pressing matter is to get the things on here. So it's gonna be all stat chain, charge, and cut MP consumption. Sure. Beastly power too. Okay. That's pretty good, I think. And now we're gonna put this into the polish. Wait, that's not how that works. No. I would have needed your fuel here, huh? They did not have the stone part, so I can't put them in here. Okay, that was kind of useless. But... But I guess I'm just gonna put that into fuel now. It's not gonna have... it's gonna be all kinds of not great. Well, never mind. That seems still pretty good. And then maybe a little bit more red. Hopefully that's sufficient. I'm gonna place you down here. Which is enough to make this refined oil. Huh? Which is another thingy, another bonus. Okay, you go here. And then you can go there. Oh, yeah, we're gonna get another thing through that connection. Now can I get the full thingy? Probably not. But it is close. Which I guess makes this a little bit less good. Wait. Wait, what? Wait, what? This isn't using the right one. I needed this one. Ah, too bad. I hope it's still fun. Ish. Fine enough. Should be almost identical, but not 100%. And once we're done this part, we're just gonna go and do some main story stuff. Because that's really where it's gonna be at. To get more things. Okay, now this should actually work. No. This, and beastly power. Nice. We're gonna put that into polish. Which is okay, but not quite the most efficient use here. Let's see how many light slots we have here. Not a lot. In a lot of ways, this is not that great. Maybe in the future we get something to make this better. But right now, it's just kinda... It's okay. Not getting any of the ice stuff. Well, we should at least get some things. Let's put this down first, because even if we get rid of it later on. Well, at least we don't get rid of the important things. Okay, I think... Wait, what? Where's the steel protection, not the other one? Ah. It's fine. Okay, I think I'm just gonna cut it short. Gonna put some things on here. And see how that works together with the skill charge. Let's filter by the one that has cut MP consumption. Obviously the skill thing is not correct though. This one seems good. I think there's no, there is no fire here. Which is a shame. Which is a shame. There's a little fire thingy, but it's not gonna be enough. We can put something here again. How much? Well, it's a little bit of crit boost. Oh, wait. That gets crit boost 10%. That's something. Oh, we actually have a little bit more. But it's not gonna help us, unfortunately. This one is pretty much useless. So I'm just gonna... I think I'm just gonna completely override it. But maybe not with that one in particular. Because we have so many of these things, I don't think that's gonna be that much of a problem. At best, it's gonna be a question of how do we fit them all into the space. And honestly, not that hard. It seems. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Econ skill use. Ooh. Probably wouldn't have done it that way if I knew that was just 8%. Would have combined the two. That's fine, I think. Okay, that's one weapon that I hope is now a lot better. Oh yeah, by quite a margin. Okay, it still has the attack count +1. Now 2 more. We should also make some of these, even if they are not that important right now. So, Chaos Arms, Long Boots, and Hunting Rifle. Probably. I got some things already. Okay, I'm gonna make better Sylvalia now. That's gonna be a little bit tricky to get right. Okay, so we want certain things on here again. This one. But we can also now use this one directly. One of these at least. Which... it's not the best. And that one doesn't have the beastly stuff. But I guess I don't have to have it. So let's use that. Is there something else that's also good? Let's sort this by lightning slots. Oh, these have the most. Sure. Now that might not be enough. What this also needs, honestly, is ice. We need to sort by ice. Not a lot of that. Oh, but this water in particular. Oh, do seem to have a couple ones that have lots of ice. Which this one might not even be that much of use those. Oh, wait, that barely does a difference. But it might still be necessary. Let's hope that works. Okay, so I need to have at least 2 combinations to get what I want. I also don't wanna get rid of any of the important things. Okay, that's a bit of a dilemma.
Sophie,
Well, that's really annoying. That was the actual important thing here, huh? Well, that's okay. Okay. So I really do need to fill all of these things. Actually, no, I guess I don't. Because now I have enough anyway. But... obviously, some of this stuff, but it's not the most important thing. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work for sure. And the important thing, obviously, is that we have gotten nothing. We have at least a little bit of stuff. And then I can put that here and have another line. Wait, what? Are you? Oh my god. Well, that was kind of dumb. I took off the wrong thing here. Because I needed this thing. No. That's why you get the back button. Okay, put it like this, sure. And then this here. Now, how many can I still put in there? I think it's fine to override that specific one. Not gonna get that many things anyway from this one. Sure, that seems good enough. And that should give me what I want here. Even though that steel protection is completely useless. But it's not bad. Okay, so now theoretically I should be able to make a bunch of these. So let's just grab this one in particular. That's what I really need is fire. Very little fire here. Well, at least that's something. Highest amount of fire, absolutely. Okay, the most important thing here is fire. Or rather, that's the thing where I have the least of. That's good, that's good. And the least important is that wind thingy. I think I have enough of this stuff.
予想以上の反応です。
Yeah, I do believe that.
予想以上の反応です。
But I gotta make sure that it all fits.
これで予想以上の反応です。
Reasonably well, of course.
予想以上の反応です。
Well, at least
予想以上の
I have
反応
enough.
です。
Almost everything full.
特性を選びましょうか。
Very much do not need the steel protection, but it's still not bad to have.
最後まで気を抜完成です。
Uh-huh.
素晴らしい道具ができ
That
ま
was
した。
pretty good. Not perfect, but
ど
pretty
の
good.
道具にしましょうか。
Okay.
材料を選びましょう。
Okay. So first things first here. I want this one.
理論的に考えた場合、
I could also get an MP consumption minus 15 and see how much that actually gives me.
さて、どこから取り掛かりますか？
Okay, that already fills a lot of stuff.
さて、どこから取り掛かりますか？
Definitely don't want the skill charge. Because that's not
さて、どこから取り掛かりますか？
Let's put this one here. And
理論的に考えた場合、まず
let's see where we can get more lightning. Okay, that's a no.
さて、どこから取り掛かりますか？
Okay, first, these things, they are just garbage
錬金
things.
術の神王。
Nothing to do with them
必ず
at all. Except as fill material.
順調ですが、勝負はここから。
I guess I'm gonna immediately override this specific one.
これは期待できそうですね。これは期待できそうですね。
Oh, I'm so close to have the even better bonus.
順調ですが、
So this one also is just now just filler.
これでいい調子です。これは期待できそうですね。予想以上の反応です。
As I said, this down here
いい調子です。
is gonna not matter.
ソフィー、少々相談な
Oh,
のですが、
that's slightly more complicated.
ソフィー、
What do I need to put down? What do I
が
can I put down?
ここにしましょ
Okay.
う。これは期待できそうですね。
So the maximum stuff of things to put down is this. Kind of unfortunate.
錬金術の神王、いつか必ず。
So which things exactly would I be getting rid of? If I put like this thing here?
順調ですが、勝負はここか
Oh
ら。
yeah, that works.
ここにしましょう。
Still tricky.
こ れは期待できそうですね。
It would work if I do it like this.
ここにしましょう。
And that gets this a little bit more powerful.
特性を選びましょうか。
Okay, I can put this thing on here and this
これでいいで
and
すか？
bonus stuff. Okay, that looks pretty damn good.
仕上げましょう。調合終了。
Yeah.
レベルアップです。
Okay.
どの道具にしましょうか？
So I should just be able to do that with all the other things as well. This
理論
thing.
的に考えた場合、まず、
Okay, so I want wind here.
さて、どこから取り掛かりますか？
So this thing already has some of the things I
ま
want.
ず、
So not using one of them is gonna be a little bit cheaper. So let's go for
さ
this.
て、どこから取り掛かりますか？
I can make more than one, but that's just for money. Just get as much wind as
理
we
論
can
的
in
に
here.
考えた場合、まず、
Not 100% sure how smart that was.
これで
Probably not all that much.
興味深い。 いい調子です。
Okay, those are not gonna give me almost anything. But I can put this here,
予想以
this
上の反応
here,
です。
and oh yeah, we can get one more link. It's not gonna do us much good, but we can get one more link. Okay, so that's all the green stuff. Literally.
順調ですが、勝負はここから。
Good, 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 good.
素晴らしい。
This one here, which again, that's good.
これは期待できそうですね。
Oh yeah, I can definitely do a little bit
ソフ
more
ィー、少々相談なのですが、
by just replacing this one up here. And I get more speed on
特
these
性を選びま
boots.
しょうか。これでいいです。最後まで気を抜かずに。
Good.
調合終了。どの道具にしましょうか。
And a hunting rifle. I'm gonna go with the same
理
principle
論
here.
的に考えた場合、まず、
Da, 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 da. I can use fire here, but not ice.
理論的に考
Yeah,
え
it's
た
not
場合、
like these are much different
まず、
anyway. There's no wind.
理論的に考えた場合、まず、
Is there any light? No, unfortunately not. Fire, also not. So I guess I'm gonna
理
grab
論的
that
に
one.
考えた場合、
Certainly good enough.
Hmm. 理論的に考え
I
た
mean,
場合、
that seems
ま
good.
ず、
And if I can get
さて、どこから取り掛かりますか？
some light in here, which apparently there's a single one,
さあ、
then that's
調
something.
合開始です。
Mm-hmm.
いい調子です。
And it's not necessary at all, apparently.
これで
This one's gonna get replaced. Immediately, apparently.
いい調子です。予想以上の反応です。
I guess I'm stuck at +10 here. Which, to be fair, is still pretty good.
いつか必ず。
Let's squeeze this here. Then I can put this here. So looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Oh, I can in fact get a little bit more stuff. And can I get enough? Complicated. It's a little bit. The answer might be no. Maybe if I press this here. Yeah, that does actually work. So I need 4 more. If I put this here and this here, then I have the highest value there. And the whole board is full too. And that's pretty good. So we get the old charge, cut consumption, and let's get the later. While I get myself some water. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. And that's all the equipment stuff I'm gonna do. Which it was almost quite a lot of time. Alas. Oh yeah. A little bit less MP here, huh? So one of you has minus 35 MP, potentially. I do wonder whether that's actually the case. So I think with that we want to try and take on one of these admiral ponies, because we did have a thing where I needed to grab them. I think everything is equipped, so that should be fine. Da 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 da. Good, 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 good. That's some nice cottonwood. And I'm gonna bonk that one. I think it's good. See, it's at 6 MP. Don't know how much it was beforehand. And it's a critical too. You should also definitely use skills. Like we have put the MP consumption there in there. So it only makes sense to do this. Again, skills. So it decreases accuracy. Potentially. Probably shouldn't have done that one in particular. Still hits pretty hard. Let's see. We could use a weapon. An item and see how that one works. And that seems to actually be working pretty well. Lightning bomb isn't gonna be very useful here. So let's just give everyone some defense. Nice, nice, nice. And then we can do some twin actions. Let's just go with the direct stuff. Yeah, that sounds good. We're doing a lot of damage. Ooh, you got hit pretty hard there. Don't really have an item to heal you. Well, you can at least throw a bomb. And then we're just gonna do a crosscut. We're doing really well here this time around. And do a normal attack. Absolutely. Those are fairly good. You're gonna take it directly. Can you just take it directly? I don't want to waste this stuff. Well, I guess that doesn't... Okay. As far as things go, not as easy to understand that one. Anyway. Now we only really have to finish this. Hehehe. And that's the Admiral Puni. I think that was pretty good. So the really good stuff is gonna come when either we have the really good plus all traits, but more importantly, when we have some good items. Yeah. And we're gonna get our rewards. And we're gonna tackle the mission, the main story. Because that is gonna probably get us new things, likely more characters. There have to be at least 2 more characters. And that's pretty good. I can see what kind of things we could have. Some bonus stuff like that is absolutely good. Okay, and with that, we're just gonna immediately get into it. Okay. Gonna be punching some ponies. Well, let's do it. I'd very much like to know how much power you all actually have. It's okay. Skills are obviously better. Especially with the train action stuff. And attack. I'm gonna. Yeah, that's good. Good. Yeah. Everything pretty nominal. Ooh. Nice. That's the thing we're supposed to be doing. Or if it's gonna unlock a thingy. Gotta be doing some more of that gathering. Obviously. There gotta be a lot more things. That one looked like it'd be a little bit stronger, but it isn't, I guess. As you can see. Good. Obviously, gathering things is the thing to do here. This definitely feels like something we need to activate at some point. In due time, I'm assuming. In terms of item, it seems pretty normal. Not too many too exciting new things. Still looking for more ponies. Since I got that job, 2 pony hunting. I'm just gonna straight up punch all of them. With this team action stuff, it's pretty fun. Because you can just use the stuff and not have to worry about things too much. Okay, and there's our ponies. Thankfully that's all in one. I think. I prefer to do it with the singular thing, because then you will likely kill them and you can take them on in the next step. Just like that. Like, that's pretty easy, I'd say. Which makes it pretty fun. Because otherwise fighting these mooks seems like you're using resources that you don't have. Or that you do have, but you think you don't. Okay. And that's that quest. There's a chest, that's obviously good. Wrong button. Okay, got some things and they are silver.
いい
Oh,
砂を選んで採取し
those
ま
ones
しょう
aren't. But who is counting? Okay. Again, I'm just... Well, not really again, but I'm just gonna give her all things, because...
休憩の時に食
That
べちゃわない
feels like the right
せっ
thing
か
to
く取れたて
do.
の新鮮な食材なんだし
There's a weather button.
武器や道具を作ったり直したりするからどこに行ってもこう
Let's fight some
私なら弱
jellyfish.
点をつけそうですソフィー一緒に行きましょうすごく痛いよ
Which should be done in a single attack, really. Well, in a twin attack, but that's
脅威では
essentially
な
the
かっ
same.
たですね よいしょ
木の実は栄養たっぷりなんだぜ。食えそうなのもついでに探してみるか。
よいしょ
Okay. Good, good, good. Don't think we need to fight all of these. I'm just gonna use this
これを
almost
ここに
immediately.
と故郷が干ばつで苦しんで
Seems
い
like
た
the
せい
thing to do.
雨を見て
Okay, we got some
心が安らぎ
ghosts.
ます
Spooky. Oh, we got different jellyfish.
出やがったな。
私なら弱点をつけつソフィー
Should still be
一緒に行きましょ
easy.
うすごく痛いわ
Magical parasol.
痛いですよくらいなさいやっと
Unfortunately, not quite it, but
ゴリュウさん
Oh.
後ろは任せてくださ
now
い
it is.
当たると後悔
A
する
little
ぜ。
bit of impede, isn't that?
すごく痛いよどうだ
And that's it.
楽勝楽勝
You seem a little bit stronger. Oh, we got some things. Is that a thing we needed? That is the thing we needed. Jellyfish lava.
出やがったな。
Okay, we got ghosts and we cannot directly take them on. Well. Can always shoot some kind of cannon. And you can do it again. Should have probably used the area stuff,
私
but
なら弱点をつけそうですもう一度させてください
directly attacking was kind of waste area. So
すごく痛い
I
わ
just used scouts. I should use twin action there, but no,
楽勝楽勝
I didn't. We can do one more attack, and then we get a level up.
私なら弱点をつけそうソフィー一緒に行きましょう
We might be able to chain this
すごく
again.
痛いわこれで外しません
Not even.
脅威ではなかったで
Just
すね
immediately.
まだまだ強くなるよ
I like it. Charge
体がみな
strike.
ぎってきた
New skills.
少し強くなれた気がします
We. Okay. Good stuff. So. Da 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 da. How far do we have to go here? How much is there in this area for us to do? I mean, at the end, it seems still pretty
なるべく
straightforward.
丸い石がいいですね角がない方が持ってても痛くありま せんし。
Couple good items here. Definitely. Might this thing be something we can only use when it's raining?
中身は何だろう。
Could be. Ooh, that's a lot of money. We're pretty generous with money here, I feel. No, wait. Never mind. It's a lot easier than I thought.
宝石があると錬金術で作れるものの幅が一気
Are
に
there
増えるの
definitely
ね。
things we need rain for here? Now, is there something particular we could get here?
重いですね。無事に持って帰れるでしょう
Well, I
か。
mean, obviously there are things and stuff. They do seem relatively mundane, though. So I think we can just move on. Certainly don't think it's a good idea to turn off the rain here. Especially since we very much seem to need it.
お、うまそうじゃねえか。みんなで食っちまおうぜ。
Yeah, that's just a combination of enemies. And while they might be enemies we wanna fight at some point, we're not gonna do that now.
石はどれだけあっても
If at
困ら
all,
ない。
I'm gonna do that
持てるだけ持っ
offline.
て帰ろう。
If I feel the need to do it. But we don't have a particular job to do that, so I'm not. So I am gonna fish. No. I'm not gonna fish since that is just a fish we already have tons of. Okay. Hmm.
水の中に宝箱とかあっ
Now,
たり
how
しない
long
の
is
か
the
な。
whole thing? Oh,
でも
that's...
潜って探すのは無理だし。
Wait. It's like we've already been here, but we get a cutscene.
結構奥まで来たのに、まだ終わりが見えない。プラフタン夢中だね。当然です。こんなことならしっかりと調べられるくらい
So
準備を
adorable.
してくるべきでした。
勉強熱心なやつだな。で、お前は何やってんだ？
Robbery grabbing things to sell.
もちろんお宝探
See?
し。
Told you
絶
so.
対とんでもないお宝が眠ってると思うんだよね。
Yeah. Hmm.
見つけても勝手に持って帰らないでくださいね。一度アトリエに戻って研究したいの。
Yeah, I mean, obviously we take all the things back.
そんなの横暴だ。
Oh wait, that wasn't a lad.
ほらほら、二人とも喧嘩は。
And that's a dragon. No, that's just that's just a bird.
プラフタ、離れ
Not
ろ。
even a particularly strong one.
あの魔物、ちょっと強そうかも。
We're gonna obliterate that one.
楽しんで進めるのはここまでみたいだぜ。
Auras, huh? Let's have a look what that mechanic is. They shroud themselves in auras at the start of battle. Interesting. Okay, so another god you have to destroy? Okay. No idea if we have the corresponding things. Okay, twin action things have a reduced thing. No, the unreduced amount of damage. Once an aura gauge is reduced to 0. Okay. Well, so enemies can use reaction skills. These conditions vary, but examples include take care not triggering these reaction skills. Got it. Okay. So wind aura, and just one of them. Can I have a look at what that does and what it's... Oh, and it is. So if I have lightning attacks, I would wanna use them here. That's magic damage. And that's charge damage. Well, let's get our defense up, I guess. Do we have lightning damage? No, we have wind damage. Yeah, let's get some buffs going. What on this? What do we have in this regard? We got magic attacks, which again, not a good idea here. Well, I mean, we could still just attack a single enemy. Oh, we just use this one. And sure, let's go for the big stuff. Not sure how much it'll do. Aura break! Might as well go for this one immediately. Let's take the big stuff. And the other big stuff. And obviously touch the vulnerable one. I told you this was gonna be easy. Okay. Well, obviously we still have a lot to do. None of them have aura, so we can just use magic attacks. Let's finish one of these off, which should give us enough for twin attacks. And honestly, that's almost it. Actually, I'm pretty sure that is it. Unless blood happens, which could easily be the case. Yeah, it was easy. Because they're not gonna acknowledge that. Oh, Okay, good stuff, good stuff. I feel like we got some good stuff coming on.
質問？はい。ソフィーは錬金術を誰かから教わったんですか？すっごく優秀で厳しい師匠が
Oh
いるん
yeah,
だ。
this is the good stuff.
師匠ですか。どんな私の師匠はね、プラフタなんだ。
Oh yeah, that's the good stuff.
それってソフィーが探してる
Yeah, the
プラ
one
フ
that
タさ
you're
ん？
gonna be in the future.
プラフタは私の家族で錬金術の師匠なの。
Yeah, that's called wife.
プラフタに出会ったおかげですっごく錬金術が上手くなれた。けどまだまだだって言われてて、もっと修行しないといけないんだ。
It's a good wife who encourages you.
私がそんなにすごい錬金術師に。
I think. Should be, right?
ってそう結論付けるのは早いですよね。まだ私と同一人物かの確証はありませんし。ですが
I mean, not getting ahead of you.
もしそれが本当だとしたら
Yourself
少しだ
is
け未
also a
来
good
が楽
idea.
しみになっ
Right?
てきました。
You can't just let the future happen. You gotta work at it.
それまでに私ももっともっと錬金術の腕を磨き上げておきますね。私も師匠を超えるくらいいっぱい頑張るよ。
Oh, that was so cute.
ようお前らどうだ、少しは休めたか？
はい、十分休めました。
アレットはどこ行ったんだ？
Where did she go? But anyway, that's a good highlight. Also, what is this skirt?
やったー、やったやった、大発見だよ。
Have you?
どうしたのアレットちゃん。いやー、思った通り、私の勘に間違いはなかったよ。
何言ってんだお前、一人でどこ行ってたんだよ。
それはね、
Look at that smug face.
じゃじゃーん、これを見よ。それは金貨ですか？
Okay.
ずいぶん古いものに見えますが。
Now, is she exaggerating or does she know what she's talking about?
古いだけじゃなくて、とんでもなく価値のあるすごい金貨なんだよ。この状態の金貨なら小塚に売りつければ確実に人財産。
人財産だ？いいとこセンコールくらいだろう。
Oh yeah, didn't she also want to like sell some kind of weird looking rock?
甘いな、甘い甘い。この金貨1枚で100万コールにはなるね。
Oh yeah, sure, in your dreams.
100万？こんな金
I
貨
mean, then
1
again,
枚
it
で？
could be worth a lot. Doesn't mean there's someone who buys it.
マジかよ。こんな汚らしい金貨がか？
どうにも信じられませんね。そもそも本当に金貨なのですか？
That's a good sign it's an ancient one.
本当にすごい価値があるんだよ。
A lot also seems to me like kind of the how do I get rich kind of go.
古の文明が使っていたと言われる金貨
Not a
で
bad
世界で現
thing.
存が確認されてるのは3枚だけだから。
ああ、わかったわかった。そんじゃ落とさねえように大事に持ってな。それじゃ出発するぞ。魔物には気をつけろよな。
もう信じてよ。
Okay. Good stuff. Oh, we get a new
何が
fish.
釣れるかな？ 何が釣れるかな？
Cambear. I do not know what that's supposed to be.
木材の錬金術ではよく使う素材なんだ。見つけたらちゃんと
So
採取し
plot
ようね。
tells us to go up. And I do think that's likely what I want to do.
ことなく薬くせえな。
Then
なるほど。
again, might
こりゃ
have
きつそうだ。
to take a different route to even get there. Oh, never mind.
木の
Gonna have to go there anyway.
子供の頃よくやってたんだよね。
I believe in the future we get some kind of mobile tent thing, which would make sense.
お腹空いてきちゃった。
Or at least I have seen the recipe somewhere. Again, in the future. Okay, that's the wrong element. Whatever, we don't have that. Ooh.
綺麗な石ころにしか見えねえんだけどな。
Oh. No, that is the right element. There is a thing to use over there. So we might still not be at a point where we can turn off the weather. Turn off the rain. Ooh.
神秘的な力。中
No,
身は
that's a
何な
little
の
good
かよ
thing.
くわからないかも。
Oh, money. Absolutely. Are you seriously telling me I can't jump over that?
これを持って帰んのか？たく。
Okay.
俺様は荷物持ちじゃねえぞ。
I don't know whether it's gonna be useful to put to make the weather more sunny. But if we don't want it to be sunny, there is the rain stone over
新
there.
鮮ないい食材です。錬金術にも料理にも使えますね。
That's good to know. Good to know.
水って場所によっては
Water
高値で売れるの。
of
重いの
various
担いでよく売ったっけ。
things. We might get another combat encounter that teaches us more things. Okay, so whatever chest, that's gonna be in sunny weather. It seems. Okay, that's pretty much it. I'm not quite sure whether we can just get away from
どこに行くん
here,
だ？
but I think we can just go right there, which isn't too far off from where we are. So I am gonna return, and we're gonna get a cutscene. That's good too. Probably the second friendship event.
よう、お二人さん。ちょっといいか？
Or maybe not.
どうしました？改
Mm,
まって。
mm,
いやよ。お前らとも結構長い付き合いになったし、
Secret
俺様
fighting
直伝
wisdom.
の超絶戦闘技法を教えてやろうかと思ってよ。
Hmm.
本当？オリアスさんに教えてもらったら100人力だよ。
Cute.
おうよ。絶対に役に立つはずだぜ。
Are you? Are we? Ah, abilities. I see. What does that mean? You can unlock new abilities in the abilities section. Can increase character stats, provide gathering bonuses, give you discounted shops, and more. Okay, I like it. Many powerful effects. I like it. Party quest. Goals that your party members set for themselves are called party quests. Oh, landmarks. Okay. More ways to earn AP. There are so many mechanics in this game. I like it.
それは結局自分で頑張れということでは？
いやいや、コツが分か
I
るだけ
guess
で
this
強くなる近
explanation
道
was
にな
kind
る
of
だろう。
shitty.
なあ、ソフィー。
確かにそうだね。
I mean, the tutorial did give us the how to do it.
前にも同じようなことをしたのは黙っておこう。まあ、やるだけやってみましょう。
Did she? I completely forgot it.
新しいレシピ出来上
Might
がり。
have.
作れるものが増えたみ
Bunch
た
of
い。
things. I like it. Okay, so do we have any AP? And how where exactly do we put that? Quality light. Assist skills. So now where do we get these abilities? Ah, the
さあ、
abilities.
何を覚えよう。
I guess I could have guessed that. More basket capacity. We have 6 AP. Empty-handed or staff? I think I'd like to increase the gathering stuff. Yeah. And I don't know what gathering empty-handed means. But we can increase our basket. I like it. Ooh, very interesting. Okay. There are a bunch of little quest thingies now. And that's pretty cool. But there are things here. Oh, those are the landmarks. I see. We also have landmarks in the general town. So let's explore a little bit. That should be a nice little breather. I mean, obviously I can see where the landmarks are supposed to be. Might be a good opportunity to explore anyway. Now there is obviously a thing we need to do because we have a quest and a request, and we should obviously get the money for it. That one. Oh, we also have lots of things here. Just gonna give the simple stuff. Definitely pays to do these. Literally. I should also get potentially the upgrade quest. Maybe. Even though I don't actually know what that's supposed to do mean. Obviously something not that great here is what we should be picking. I shouldn't be mixing these things. No, you didn't explain anything though. Too bad. Okay, so we have 2 in the outskirts, 2 in the commercial district, and 2 in the residential one. Let's advance time until the next morning. I do still believe that increases stuff. So look at her, she's pretty cute. Cute picture. Good. So landmark time. Honestly, there's a bunch of exploration in the main town that I have not really done. Like, there's a whole level of things that could still be done there. Like, little bridgey thing. So let's grab that. I mean, there's this thing that looks like a landmark. If that isn't a landmark, then I don't know. Whee! As I said. Ah, she got ability points. Did you get anything new? Probably not. Probably not. Like this. Sorry, this whole area above here. We haven't even looked at it. See, I would probably call this a bit of a landmark. Ah yes, being in love with monsters. Looks into the camera. A whole level of things we haven't explored yet. Well. Obviously that makes me wonder what is the other landmark here? Oh, we got some honey. Again, don't mind if I do. Another dude. That's kind of weird. I thought that was supposed to be a dream world for you, honey. Maybe that's exactly what you wanted. Just to take some time off. Ooh, that's ability points for me. Okay. Anything particularly interesting here? Other than that? Does not seem to be the case. Let's do that pretty much fast. Okay. There's probably this tree that looks absolutely. Oh, the market square. Now what else do we have here? What else could we have here? I'm gonna guess that whatever other landmark is further out. But then again, I am not basing that on anything. But seriously, this game is so pretty. God, I love it. I mean, it could obviously be in some of the MIAs. To that one. I'm completely mixing topics left and right. But that is what you will have to deal with. Now what else is there gonna be here? So that's the next area, the outskirts probably? No, that's the dream tree. And if that is not that is not a landmark, I don't know what is. It's pretty landmarky. It sure marks a land. Doesn't even mark a land. Yikes. It doesn't even mark a land. Anyway. I guess... gathering... No, here. So if it's not here, where is it? If it's not the outer region, where is it? Certainly there is something somewhere. I mean, obviously there is something since we have established that there are two landmarks in this area. Not here. I wouldn't be too surprised if that is... That's not a potato, that's a pumpkin. Oh wait, no. These actually are potatoes. Never mind. I guess whatever it is, it needs to be on the other side. Alternatively, it's further bit away. That's almost definitely it. So yeah, let's go this way and see whether we can find anything more. There's certainly something there. Oh, we get a different thing. Nice. So we have... Oh, that's... Oh. I now understand what the stuff thing is. It's, well... The stuff rank up, it means we get additional items now. Wait, where are we here? That's a new area. We found a new area. Oh, there's some more things. Wasn't what I came for, but I'm not gonna say no to it. Also there are 2 landmarks here, which in the end means it is what I came here for. No second one here. That's barehanded. I see how this works now. I definitely do. Oh. I should... Okay, the fishing thing is over there. Now... Is this landmark? Nope, it's not. Gotta be extra sure, because I don't know how far away it's gonna be. Nice. But... Oh, wait. Oh. Are you serious? No. That is such a small amount away. Nice. More ability points. It's almost definitely gonna be that Sophie gets all the ability points. Oh, we're on this side of the whole thing. Are we? Like, we can't actually do anything here. As you can see. That probably means we can't do anything there. Which makes me wonder where we would even get there. I guess we can zap to the dream tree. No, that doesn't do us any good either. Okay. Then where is the thing we need to go to? Because obviously there is another landmark here. But I cannot see where it's supposed to be. Might try and check that out at some other time. There are also supposed to be 2 here. So let's check that out as well. And I think after that I'm just gonna move on. Yeah. Okay, so there's a little place here. Does not look like it is a landmark. Even though I'd say it could be. Okay, not much to see here. I think that leads to the city. So it's not where I want to go. I mean, there's this bridge, which I would probably call a landmark. By all means. Like, in terms of, hey, where do we want to meet? Oh, at the bridge. Yeah, that's a landmark, in my opinion. This also not a landmark? Okay, that tree does look like a landmark. Sunbird's nest, I see. Okay, so that what that dude does. Now. Well, empty hand gathering upgrade it is. Can't do anything else, so it won't. But now some of these other things are also gonna have better quality. This thing, for example. I like the way they're doing that mechanic. Yeah. Also, it does prioritize. I mean, you're likely gonna prioritize these gathering skills over the other ones. Okay, interesting. So you might go here as a child, but still that are basically an adult. That is kinda freaky. Let's see what we can find more things here. Actually, you know what? No. We're gonna move on. I don't wanna fiddle around too much. It would be nice if we could encounter Remiziel today. There's likely gonna be a couple of things that involves anyway. Very much. Automod? Are you seriously, Automod, are you seriously gonna do that kind of discourse with me? Very gay indeed. How many iterations of your gay do I have to include in that automod thing? Yeah, sometimes you gotta clean the thing. The alternative reaction is you can clean your keyboard. Honestly, the one I'm using doesn't really have the capacity to get too much things in
私には
between.
よくわからないかも。
I think. Might be completely wrong about that. Hmm.
中
I
身は
mean,
何
I'm
だろ
just
う。
not gonna bother it.
やった神秘的な
Like,
力だ。
sure,
大事に持って帰ろう。
there might be a lot of iteration of this. Hmm.
この素材どんなものか聞かれると説明に困るんです
I
よ
mean,
ね。
yeah, I can do that, but hmm, don't know whether I want to universally allow
よい
that.
しょ。あった発見。これでいいんだよね。
I mean, it's probably fine. And I might do that, but I'm gonna do that afterwards, obviously.
気の見集めなら任せて。子供の頃よくやってたんだよね。てや中身は何だろう。
Okay. Good, good, good. I'm pretty sure that at this
これを
point I
こ
need
こ
to
にっと。
make it sunny again.
一瞬で晴れにできるって
Would be
便利な
nice
の
to
は
able
元の
to
世
do that
界
in
でも
IL,
やれば
but
いいのに。
is it weird to pronounce IL? I think it is a little bit.
おまけだよ。行くよ。
Yeah, we can just do an attack.
楽勝
That's entirely fine, yeah. Okay. Oh, we gotta do some battles for
出やがっ
her.
たな。
So let's do that as well. Didn't really get to it. I mean, we're gonna have to talk more clearly about what you want out of this. And it would be useful if you just take whatever you already have and zip it up and give to me. And like honestly, we gotta talk to through this a little bit more clearly. I mean, sure, I still like to do it correctly. And like, honestly, you can't do that on a single call.
やります。弱点をつくチャンスかも。一緒に行動しない。これで終わり。
Like, I am not 100% sure what exactly you want, and that's why we gotta talk about it a little bit closer. I honestly don't know when I'm gonna have the time for this, because just so many things. I mean, the way it looks, it's probably not that much, like... Like, not that much work for me. Especially if it's just one page. Do I gotta have to find the time for it?
神秘的かどうかはよくわかんねえけど、確かに
Since
す
the
げえ力を
whole
感じるぜ。
class stuff is full time, so I'm kinda occupied and a little bit exhausted.
錬金術で作れるものの幅が一気に増えるんだよね。
But I do think I will get to it. Doesn't seem that hard. And honestly, it's good exercise.
錬金術の素材になりそうな木の実ですね。
But yeah, I don't do this stuff just over a call. I do not like it. Like, you gotta have something written down, or that's just
薬を作るのに
that's
使
just
い
bad
ます
stealing.
ね。からっぱくん。
I mean, I
これが薬になるんだ。
obviously don't like phone calls
錬金術
anyway.
って不思議だな。
Even Discord calls. It's just like, okay, so
武器や
I
道具を
forgot half
作
of
った
what
り
we
直した
said.
りするから どこに行っても鉱石は需要あるんだよ
Know what I
ね。
mean?
いい素材が手に入りました。えい。
But we can talk about that shortly, probably tomorrow. Depending on when you're actually awake. You know, with the whole
みっけ。
different time zones.
そうね。ごめんね。少しだけ積ませてね。
Anyway. I didn't want to hit you.
Sophie、一緒に行きましょう。すごく痛いよ。どうだ。
And I also kind of want to practice this whole,
くらいなさい。
like,
弱点を
talking
作っ
over
ちゃ
client
うか
stuff
も
a bit.
一緒に
Because
行動し、アレットちゃん、私も行くよ。
could definitely use more experience in that.
さあ。すごく痛いよ。
And also, I am absolutely making it up as I go along.
ゴリアスを
But
縦
yeah.
に突っ込む。
山ほど撃つぜ。
I wrote down a couple questions of them just gonna ask you so you don't have to write things down. If that's easier for you.
また強くなっちまったぜ。
普通の石。恋愛術には使えても売れたりはしないよね。
Do I probably gonna have to figure out how exactly the Twitch embed works? Because with your side, the Twitch embed is not working on Firefox, so that must be something wrong, and who knows? Wait. So where do I have to go now? Do I need to activate the... Yeah, I know, but... Sometimes it doesn't quite work with Twitch. And it's certainly not as easy as with YouTube. What I'm saying is, if you open your site with the current setup
ザクッ。
穴なんてし
on
っかり見ることねえが。
on Firefox, it
こう
gives
して見る
you
と綺麗なもんじゃねえか。
well the whole iframe where your embed
綺麗な
is.
砂って好きなんだ。
It's just kind of an error
触り
message,
心地が気持ちいいんだよね。
which is probably a sign that there's something not correct there. But obviously, which is another reason why I'd like the at least the index.html that you have currently.
どこに向かいますか？
I think I'm running in circles here. Yeah, I am running in circles. Don't really want to deal with enemies here.
マジで
Even
石じゃ
though
ねえ
there's
か
a reason to do it.
持って帰るの大変なんだぞ。
But
ったく。
oh, aroma hearts. We needed that for the pure
なるべく
water.
丸い石がいいですね。角がないから
More of it.
持ってても痛くありませんし。
Okay. This is not the way to go. What is it? No. Okay, then I'm guessing that since up there somewhere is a switchy thingy. God damn it. Well, let's see how we can take them out. Okay, that's all enemies, but okay, that's everyone again. Let's just do I don't know if that does any damage. It does not. That's too bad. Well, not much problem anymore. Well, again, it is a thing when it's supposed to do. The battle thing. Oh. Well, not really supposed to do, but it's a thing that I do very much profit from doing. So it's definitely a thing to do. Okay, lots of things. Honestly, I should take a dang break. I'll call it at some point. Might do that too. Wait. You'd think you'd be able to jump over here. Oh. And I think that's exactly where the weather change thing is gonna come in clutch. Okay. We got more wood. Well, that didn't really solve my problem though. Unfortunately. I guess presumably there should be some other way. Wait, that's just the starting area. Well, now I'm confused. Well, that was not it. I've just run in circles. That was not it. Okay. Not the worst. Not the worst. Okay. Probably need to go to the other side because I was still in the same area. No. Like, this is pretty much a thing I cannot get over right now. And I'm not even quite sure that does anything. I guess I just kind of need to steadily go north. And that might be sufficient. Okay, here's more area to go. Okay, some of these bells are not
木の実は素材としてだけじゃなくて
things you
小
can
腹が
gather.
空いた時にもいいんだよね
Okay, good. So anyway, go up here. And now that brings us to places. What's that symbol? Oh, it's a thing where we have to go past this, huh? We have been here, huh? What do you mean we've been here? That's confusing. Anyway. No, I don't think I need to change the level anymore. So I might be wrong about that. It is now easy to get these because they were also a request. So another weather change thing. Oh wait, I think it's this place where I wanted to be at. Except that does not do it either, huh? No, wait. It's about changing this to rain, of course. Which in turn... Oh. I guess that's fine. Okay, so at the very least I need to get to a place where I can go back and forth. Like this! Okay, that's good timing. So we're gonna go back and forth a bit. Because I am gonna take all the stuff, obviously. We got more things, and I like it. And then we can just simply go here and go on, which is pretty good. More fishing. Ooh. What is this tutorial? Isn't it that basically the same? At fishing rod major gathering spots, you can determine the components. Okay, okay. Okay. So you gotta hit the save bar. Okay, I see. Oh, that's also pretty cool. And there's a timer as well. Okay, got it. Okay, okay. Oh, that's a tricksy one. kinda interesting. Okay. And that's another area. I don't know how long it is until we meet Remisiel. Might be a lot longer than I'd like to. Not gonna do go longer than an hour anyway.
これは薬を作るのに使えますね。木材の錬金術ではよく使う素材なんだ。見つけたらちゃんと採取しようね。
I like more of that crimson coral, obviously. It's not like I automatically like everything crimson. But I like new things. I wonder whether that's like another one of these special things. Because so boy do I like them. Okay, they would have been down there. Which I'm not gonna bother with. Okay, that's not actually the way to go, huh? I think in that case, it's faster to just jump there. No, wait. There was a reason I didn't go that way. In other words, I'm gonna have to find the next changing station. Yeah. So where is the next thing of that matter? We can go down here. Okay, so that is the way to go. And it looks like an... yep. That's it. That's the changing thing. Then we got the thingy here. Looprum. I see. And I'm assuming that's already the right area. Well, actually no. It's still quite a long way. Okay, there are actually a lot of these downstairs. Very much gonna ignore all these enemies. Because clearly I'd like to get on for today. That's a lot of stuff I can do. offline. Okay. Well, oh no. Well, let's see what we have. I first need to actually look at. So what is this? What? I thought you no. Wind aura, okay. So yeah, that should be fine. Since it's not a magical attack. All of these things do magic damage. It might be useful to use the attack twice. Oh, never mind. Single enemy, single enemy. Let's just go for the strong stuff. Might as well. Just completely obliterated. I love it. And you can also do a twin action. Are there even that many left? Single one would have been better. Alas. It's not perfect. Okay. Good. Now where do I have to go here? Let's look on the map. Oh, I see. There's a little connection that lets me go up there. Just gotta do a jumpy jump. And it looks like at this point I'm gonna have to put I'm gonna have to let it wait again. Let's do that. God, I hope I don't run out. That would be so annoying. Ideally, it's not gonna happen. There's a special jellyfish. And there's a checkpoint thingy. So we have another clear indication that we gotta go this way, and we need the rain. Now how close are we? My guess is we're gonna meet some really powerful thing and get rescued. Oh.
ソフィー、どこにいるのですか？私は一体どこ
Oh,
に？
it's our wife.
ここ。プラフター？
Hmm.
プラフター？ここにいるの？
Hmm.
何を言ってるんですか？ずっとここにいるじゃないですか。
Honey, we mean they'll love you.
そうじゃなくて、私が探してる方のプラフタの声が聞こえたの。この暖かさは誰かいるんですか？
Hehehe.
もしかしてソフィーですか？ソフィー？ソフィー？
Hmm.
プラフター、待って、プラフター。
Oh, the longing. This too is Yuri.
おい待てソフィー、声なんて聞こえなかったぞ。
ソ
I
フィーさ
kind
ん、
of think this is
突
also
然ど
good.
うしちゃったんだろ
Highlight.
う。わからないけど放っておけません。
Hmm.
二人ともソフィーを追いますよ。プラフター、どこなの？お願い、返事をして。ソフィー、落ち着いてください。間違いなく声が聞こえたんですね。
We heard it too, so yeah.
あれは絶対プラフタの声だよ。聞き間違えるはずない。絶対にそうだよ。
落ち着けって疑ってねえから。それでなんて言ってたんだ？
私のこと呼んでた。でも私が見えてないよ
She
うな
might
感
be
じで。
stuck here somewhere in the in-betweens. And there's the enemy I predicted.
待って、
Told you so.
魔物、なんて大きい。
Let's tackle it.
まさかこんな大物がいたとはな。
Well, not literally, obviously. Wait. Wait, is that... Wait.
私はプラフタを探してるの。だか
Oh
ら
no. She was just determined to find her wife.
こんなところで止まってられないんだから。
It's the power of gay. Okay.
ソフィーさん、逃げようよ。でもプラフタを探さなきゃ。
And no, of course I'm predicting that we're gonna be rescued.
この状況で水流と戦うのは不利です。
Ooh.
陽光のヘリオドールが光ってる。
Can we do this in battle
も
now?
しかしたらどうにかできるかも。 本当ですか、ソフィー？わからない。でもなんだかそう言われてる気がする。
Again, it's the power of gay.
言われてる？
この際何でもいい、やっちまえ。
Okay, weather control and battle. Well, let's use that. Because obviously that's the thing we need to do.
そうだ。
Not quite sure what that let me do it in this way. 5,000 health could be tricky. Again, it might be one thing we can do that easily. Doesn't have a buff per se. So let's do this thing. Since the decrease in defense should be an increase in attack. I might look at the details. Okay, so you don't have anything particular going on. Definitely this one. That seems good. Oh, you got wind aura now. Do we have anything that's good? This might be perfect. Oh yeah, that was perfect. Oh, it's a 14, huh? It's magic damage, but we won't need lightning. Don't have lightning here. Let's use this one, sure. That's probably gonna hurt if we don't protect, so we are gonna protect. Of course that reduces our speed, that's not good. Let's see. Again, magic damage is not good. So let's use twin action now. That should be good since it twice attacking means it's gonna take 2 hits off the thing. Oh wait, that's not an attack. Oh wait, since we do this twice, that's actually good. So just attacking is also useful. Assuming that's not... So you can attack again. That should reduce that a lot faster. And we're gonna let you do that too. And then the next one will already have damage. Fortunately, don't have any healing. And we got aura break. Well, let's just go all out. I mean, I'm saying that, but it's not actually getting that much in here. 755 damage. That's not bad. We can do that pretty much immediately again. Okay, we'll reduce it to like 2/3. That's pretty good. Knockback also good. Gives us more time to react. We got lead damage. Does anyone even care about that anymore? That's such a 2010 thing. Oh yeah, let's just chain the knockback. I like it. Oh, curse. Auto heal. Oh yeah. It's definitely really good to do this now. And then we're just gonna go for the ball. We'll stop, and I think we got it almost down.
こです。
当たれ食らってけ
And then kind of ironically, just freaking normal attack. And that was only its first
俺
phase?
様に勝てるわけねえだろうな
No, that did do it.
まだまだ強くなるよ。
I do still expect hey, you
少し強くなれた気がします。
you need to be rescued here, fine. Defense speed boost. That's good. Mighty blessing. Excellent.
やったよね。
You did beat it.
うわどうにかなおいみんな怪我してねえか
問題ありませ
And
ん。
it is raining again.
ソ
Huh?
フィー、あなたは大丈夫。それよりプラフタの声が
Right as rain. I like it.
さっきは確かに聞こえてたのに。
Was that actually Plafter?
プラフタ、
Hmm.
お願い。
I kind of wonder.
プラフタ
何あいつまだ戦えんのか
Okay. Now?
ソフィー、逃げて。させない。
Again. Don't you say. Perfectly predicted what will happen.
リーボルト、
Then again, that wasn't particularly
仕留める
hard to predict. And there she is, our grandmother. Potentially.
間一髪間に合ったみたいね。
She is hot. The reviews weren't lying.
ラビゼルさん、リーボルトさんも。
You know what? I think that might make a better, like, highlight.
ラミゼルさん？
二人ともどうしてここに
カティからあなたたちの話を聞いてね。慌てて探しに来たのよ。
Wait, we were looking for you.
まさかこんなところに来てたなんて。帰りに寄り道したから
Literally
行
gone
き違い
back
に
and
なった
forth
み
a
たいね。
couple times.
私の用事に付き合わせてしまったのが原因だ。申し訳ない。
Diebold? Now who is this emo boy?
何にせよ、
Hmm.
助かりました。さすがにもうこちらも限界でしたので。間に合ってよかったわ。それであなたソフィーさんだったかしら。私に頼みたいことがあるのよね。はい。どこから説明すれば。
Let's start with, hey, I'm your granddaughter from the future.
ここじゃ落ち着いて話せないわ。話は町に戻ってからでも構わないかしら。ちょっとだけ待ってください。この辺りで少し調べたいことが。
That is such a perfect timing for that little drop of water.
ダメよ。またさっきみたいに襲われたいの？
Listen to your grandmother.
ソフィーさん、ラミゼルさんの言う通りにしよう。
Absolutely. We've gone back and forth like 3 times. It's fine.
焦る気持ちはわかるけどよ。一度休んでまた来ようぜ。
オリアさん。
I mean, they are right.
わかりました。
The longing. The longing.
ごめんね。ありがとう。それじゃあ戻りましょう。これがラミゼルさん。私のおばあちゃんかもしれない人。
Lots of feelings going on for a little lady there. Don't worry, we will find your wife. It's kind of funny that you could, like, see this as a more wife kind of story, which is not really a good way of looking at it, I think. We will find her, hopefully.
声が聞こえない。あの声は絶対にプラフタだった。どこ行っちゃったの？プラフタ。ソフィーさん、早く。
They should really alchemize an umbrella. They're gonna catch a cold. Ah. It was a long cutscene.
帰ってこれましたね。一時はどうなるかと思ったけど、無事に帰ってこれてほっとしたよ。ラミゼルさん、あなたがラミゼルさんなんですよね。そうよ、私がラミゼル。錬金術師のラミゼル・エルレンマイヤーよ。
Really, Elmaya, huh?
錬金術師で名前もおばあちゃんと一緒。やっぱりこの人は私の。
How do you explain to someone, hey, I might be a granddaughter?
まあ話はカティのお店に着いてからね。私もちょっと休みたいし。ソフィー、どうですか？本当にラミゼルはソフィーのおばあ
I
様
mean,
でし
who
たか？
knows? Like, would you recognize a 24-year-old version of your grandpa? I wouldn't, because I've never met mine.
正直全然わからないの。だって私が知ってるおばあちゃんってあんなに若くなかったし。
Exactly. I really need a pointing, like, expression. Because I'm all doing hand movements that you can obviously not see. Because I'm all talky with the handy thing.
ああ、そりゃそうか。
聞いたところでラミゼルさんだってわかるはずないもんね。ほら、みんな何やってんの？早く行くわよ。あ、はい。
His walk circle was a little bit sluggish, huh?
今 今はプラフタを探すことが先だよね。ラミゼルさんのことは
Exactly.
それから
First
考
the
えよう。
wife, and then the past version of your grandma.
ひらめいた。
Okay. But I think that's gonna be it. Which means actually, you know what? No. Let's do this properly. So obviously, we should do that cutscene. It'd be weird to go to the atelier now and not do this cutscene today. Besides, there might be mechanics that unlocks, which I don't want to miss out, and I don't want to do this scene outside of stream. Obviously.
なるほど。大変だったわね、ソフィーさん。プラフタさんのことも心配でしょうに。はい。けどラミゼルさんと会ったあの場所でプラフタの声が聞こえた気がするんです。
その話か。でも
Yeah,
俺には
because
何
you
も
don't
聞こ
have
えなか
that
ったですね。
connection.
ソフィーさんには悪いけど、私もそんな声は聞いてませんね。
As she was talking to her wife.
そんな気のせいだったのかな。まあまあ、落ち込んでてもプラフタさんは見つからないわよ。
You definitely hurt her. I mean, we hurt her.
そのために私を探してたんでしょ。
Exactly.
はい、そうです。エルビーラ様にプラフタのことを聞いてきてほしいんです。お願いします。この世界の神様ならきっと何か。そういうことなら協力する。いいんですか？もちろんよ。そんな話を聞いた以上放っておくことはできないわ。やったね、ソフィーさん。すぐに話を聞きに行ってくるけど、
as soon as she able.
ごめんなさい。引き受ける条件みたいになってしまうんだけれど、
What
ソフィー
is
さん
it?
に頼みがあるの。
Yes.
私にできることなら何でも言ってください。ありがとう。お願いしたいのは、私が受けていた依頼を代わりに進めてほしいってこと。
I mean, we've been doing that already.
一つは湿地に出る魔物の退治、もう一つはディーボルトの新しい剣の作成よ。ディーボルトさんってさっきまで一緒にいたあの人ですか？そう、ソフィーさんは錬金術師だって聞いたから多分大丈夫だと思うんだけれど。
So these are more complicated ones, huh?
数は少ないですけど剣なら作ったことがあるのでなんとかなると思います。任せてください。
That's a huge step up because I don't think she would have been able to do that in Atelier Sophie 1.
それを聞いて安心したわ。
Because it was not intended.
ディーボルトは町の居住区に行けば会えるはずよ。それじゃあよろしくお願いね、ソフィーさん。こっちこそ
And
よろし
hopefully
く
in
お願い
time
しま
these
す。
two will join
ラミゼル
us.
さん。それと敬語はいらないわ。堅苦しいしね。じゃあ私のことはソフィーと呼んでください。わかったわ。それじゃあ行ってくるわね、ソフィー。
Oh, her outfit is also super cute.
それにしてもあの子何考えてんのかしら。このことを把握してないはずもないだろうに。
Well, what does Remisiel know?
よかったですね、ソフィー。
And who is she
それ
talking
で
about?
どっちの依頼から進めるつもりなんです？まずはリーボルトさんの方かな。
That shouldn't be too hard. I guess we hadn't made thoughts before.
町の居住区にいるって言
Which
っ
makes
てた
sense.
から会いに行ってみるよ。
Because we didn't have a party member for that. But that's not gonna be something we're gonna do today. For now,
よーし。
back to the Atelier, we get another cutscene.
どうやら
Which
思って
means
いたより
friendship
もい
event,
い
I
もの
think?
が完成しそうです。やったね、プラフター。はい、ソフィーのおかげですね。そんな、私はちょっとやり方を教えただけだよ。やり方を教えてくれただけではありません。そばにいること、それも重要なのです。
super cute.
同じ錬金術師がそばにいることで切磋琢磨して技術向上に励もうという気持ちになれますからね。
Very cute.
元の世界でもそんな友がいました。お
Huh.
かげで
You did?
私はここまで成長できたんです。
Oh. I think I know who that is, potentially.
プラフタの錬金術師の友達ってもし
She
かして
does too.
その友達と一緒に頑張ってたんだね。はい、彼と共に互いの研究成果を見せ合い、時には衝突もしながら腕を磨いていったのです。錬金術師の優秀な錬金術師の友という
I
のは
know pretty much. I do think I know who she's talking about.
いい友達なんだね。プラフタから聞いた話と似てる。やっぱりこの子は
And link more for now. Why don't we have a look at that?
作れるものが増えたみたい。新しい道具作れるようになりましたよ。
So party starts. Element switch light. Okay. Can change any one placed component into a light component. Interesting stuff. Anyway, that's gonna be it for today. Let's save. So, and go to the exit screen. That's gonna be it for today. Gonna see us again tomorrow because I do want to play more of this. Again, it's gonna be somewhere around the evening. Might be earlier, might be later. It all depends on when the Little Dutchman is done. Listen, you gotta watch your face. So yeah, with that, we'll say goodbye, and we're gonna see each other tomorrow. So goodbye. Goodbye.